The FATF blacklist was the common shorthand description for the Financial Action Task Force list of non-cooperative countries or territories. That is, countries which it perceived to be non-cooperative in the global fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. Although non-appearance on the blacklist was perceived to be a mark of approbation for offshore financial centers who are sufficiently well regulated to meet all of the FATF's criteria, in practice the list included countries that did not operate as offshore financial centers. The FATF updates the blacklist regularly, designating countries to be added or deleted. The term non-cooperative was sometimes criticized as misleading, as a number of the countries which appeared on the list simply lacked the infrastructure or resources to cope with relatively sophisticated financial criminals who try to operate there. Since 2008 the FATF has, at the behest of G20 leaders, installed a more analytical process of identifying jurisdictions deficient in their anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist financing regimes. The latest FATF blacklist report June 2014 a total of 6 countries were identified as jurisdictions that have strategic deficiencies that pose a risk to the international financial system. Jurisdictions subject to a FATF call on its members and other jurisdictions to apply countermeasures to protect the international financial system from the ongoing and substantial money laundering and terrorist financing risks emanating from the jurisdictions. Iran, North Korea, jurisdictions with strategic AML-CFT deficiencies that have not made sufficient progress in addressing the deficiencies or have not committed to an action plan developed with the FATF to address the deficiencies. The FATF calls on its members to consider the risks arising from the deficiencies associated with each jurisdiction. Algeria, Ecuador, Indonesia, Myanmar. February 2014 a total of 11 countries were identified as jurisdictions that have strategic deficiencies that pose a risk to the international financial system. Jurisdictions subject to a FATF call on its members and other jurisdictions to apply countermeasures to protect the international financial system from the ongoing and substantial money laundering and terrorist financing risks emanating from the jurisdictions. Iran, North Korea, jurisdictions with strategic AML-CFT deficiencies that have not made sufficient progress in addressing the deficiencies or have not committed to an action plan developed with the FATF to address the deficiencies. The FATF calls on its members to consider the risks arising from the deficiencies associated with each jurisdiction. Algeria, Ecuador, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Pakistan, Syria, Turkey, Yemen. October 2013 a total of 13 countries were identified as jurisdictions that have strategic deficiencies that pose a risk to the international financial system. Jurisdictions subject to a FATF call on its members and other jurisdictions to apply countermeasures to protect the international financial system from the ongoing and substantial money laundering and terrorist financing risks emanating from the jurisdictions. Iran, North Korea, jurisdictions with strategic AML-CFT deficiencies that have not made sufficient progress in addressing the deficiencies or have not committed to an action plan developed with the FATF to address the deficiencies. The FATF calls on its members to consider the risks arising from the deficiencies associated with each jurisdiction. Algeria, Ecuador, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Kenya, Myanmar, Pakistan, Syria, Tanzania, Turkey, Yemen. June 2013 a total of 14 countries were identified as jurisdictions that have strategic deficiencies that pose a risk to the international financial system. Jurisdictions subject to a FATF call on its members and other jurisdictions to apply countermeasures to protect the international financial system from the ongoing and substantial money laundering and terrorist financing risks emanating from the jurisdictions. Iran, North Korea, jurisdictions with strategic AML-CFT deficiencies that have not made sufficient progress in addressing the deficiencies or have not committed to an action plan developed with the FATF to address the deficiencies. The FATF calls on its members to consider the risks arising from the deficiencies associated with each jurisdiction. Ecuador, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Kenya, Myanmar, Pakistan, Sao Otoma Copyright and PRA and CIPE, Syria, Tanzania, Turkey, Vietnam, Yemen. February 2012 A total of 17 countries were labeled as high-risk and non-cooperative jurisdictions by FATF. All listed countries below are defined as such. However, countermeasures are in force only for Iran and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Countermeasures apply to these countries: high-risk and non-cooperative, Iran, North Korea. Countries not committed to an action plan: high-risk and non-cooperative, Bolivia, Cuba, Ethiopia, Ghana, Indonesia, Kenya, Myanmar, Nigeria, Pakistan. Sao Otoma Copyright and PRA and CIPE, Sri Lanka, Syria, Tanzania, Thailand, Turkey. The latest countries with ongoing FATF process compliance. February 2012 A total of 23 countries are committed to the FATF standard, but have not yet implemented it. Countries committed and addressing AML-CFT deficiencies: Algeria, Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Argentina, Bangladesh, Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Morocco, Namibia, Nepal, Nicaragua, Sudan, Tajikistan, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkmenistan, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. Countries committed, but not making sufficient progress: Ecuador, Philippines, Vietnam, Yemen. History of the FATF blacklist, http www.fatf-gafi.org/. How Act June 2000 report The plenary list, consisting of 15 countries regarded as uncooperative in the fight against money laundering, was published in June 2000, viz., Bahamas, Cayman Islands, Cook Islands, Dominica, Israel, Lebanon, Liechtenstein, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Niue, Panama, Philippines, Russian Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The initial list met much criticism from professionals experienced in the offshore financial sector. The designation of the Cayman Islands as non-cooperative was thought to be harsh, particularly as the 2000 report itself acknowledged that the Cayman Islands has been a leader in developing anti-money laundering programs throughout the Caribbean region. It has served as president of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, and it has provided substantial assistance to neighboring states in the region. It has demonstrated cooperation on criminal law enforcement matters, and uncovered several serious cases of fraud and money laundering otherwise unknown to authorities in FATF member states. June 2001 report The second FATF report, published in 2001 and including a supplemental report in September, denoted a further 8 countries as non-cooperative: Egypt, Grenada, Guatemala, Hungary, Indonesia, Burma, Nigeria, Ukraine. June 2006 report The seventh list, published in June 2006, listed only the following country as non-cooperative: Burma. June 2007 report FATF's 8th NCCT review listed no countries as non-cooperative. Myanmar was removed on October 13, 2006, Nauru on October 13, 2005 and Nigeria on June 23, 2006. June 2009 report FATF issued a statement on February 25, 2009 noting concerns and encouraging greater compliance by the following countries: Iran, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Sao Otoma Copyright and PRA and CIPE. OECD Grey List. Although its main focus is on tax crime, the OECD is also concerned with money laundering. Its work is designed to complement that carried out by the FATF. The OECD maintains a blacklist of countries it considers uncooperative in the drive for transparency of tax affairs and the effective exchange of information, officially called the List of Uncooperative Tax Havens. As of December 2009, no country is officially listed as a tax haven by the OECD. On October 22, 2008, at an OECD meeting in Paris, 17 countries led by France and Germany decided to draw up a new blacklist of tax havens. The OECD has been asked to investigate around 40 new tax havens where undeclared revenue is allegedly hidden and which host many of the non-regulated hedge funds that came under fire during the 2008 financial crisis. Germany, France, and other countries called on the OECD to add Switzerland to a blacklist of countries which encourage tax fraud. The OECD Grey List reports monitor the implementation of the internationally agreed tax standard in select jurisdictions, Euro tax havens or other financial centers of interest. The list of jurisdictions is divided in 3 parts. Substantially implemented the standard: Andorra, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Argentina, Aruba, Australia, Austria, Bahamas, Bahrain, Barbados, Belgium, Belize, Bermuda, Brazil, British Virgin Islands, Brunei, Canada, Cayman Islands, Chile, China, Cook Islands, Costa Rica, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Dominica, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Gibraltar, Greece, Grenada, Guernsey, Hong Kong, Hungary, Iceland, India, Indonesia, Ireland, Isle of Man, Israel, Italy, Japan, Jersey, South Korea, Liberia, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Macau, Malaysia, Malta, Marshall Islands, Mauritius, Mexico, Monaco, Montserrat, Netherlands, Netherlands Antilles, New Zealand, Norway, Panama, Philippines, Poland, Portugal, Qatar, Russia, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Samoa, San Marino, Seychelles, Singapore, Slovakia, Slovenia, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, Turks and Caicos Islands, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, United States, U.S. Virgin Islands, Vanuatu. This is not a complete list, as many countries, including Lebanon, Nigeria and many more are not included in this list. Committed to the standard, but have not yet substantially implemented it, Nauru, Niue, Guatemala, Uruguay, have not committed to the standard, none as of November 2011. Whether by none it means all countries in the world have committed to the standard is unclear by this article. Global Forum Compliance. The Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes reviews and issues reports on compliance of its member tax jurisdictions. The Global Forum's peer review process examines both the legal and regulatory aspects of exchange and the exchange of information in practice. As of November 2011, the Phase 1 or combined reviews of 59 jurisdictions have been completed. The final Phase 2 review is expected to be finalized in the first half of 2014. Of the completed reviews, the following jurisdictions are not ready for Phase 2: Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Botswana, Brunei, Liechtenstein, Panama, Seychelles, Switzerland, Trinidad and Tobago, Uruguay, and Vanuatu. See also, Anti-Money Laundering, Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering, List of offshore financial centers. References: FATF Public Statement, June 27, 2014. FATF. June 27, 2014. Retrieved October 6, 2014. FATF Public Statement, February 14, 2014. FATF. February 14, 2014. Retrieved October 6, 2014. FATF Public Statement, October 18, 2013. FATF. October 18, 2013. Retrieved October 6, 2014. FATF Public Statement, June 21, 2013. FATF. June 21, 2013. Retrieved October 6, 2014. FATF Public Statement, February 16, 2012. FATF. February 16, 2012. Retrieved October 6, 2014. Documents, Improving Global AML-CFT Compliance, Ongoing Process, February 16, 2012. FATF Public Statement February 22, 2013. High-risk and non-cooperative jurisdictions, Jeremy Hetherington Gore, The Cayman Islands a Euro Paradise Regained? Error, 404, Financial Action Task Force, AB Error, 404, Financial Action Task Force, Error, 404, Financial Action Task Force, Tax and Crime, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Harmful Tax Practices, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, calls from 17 countries for new tax haven blacklist. Euronews, World News, a progress report on the jurisdictions surveyed by the OECD Global Forum on implementing the internationally agreed tax standard, Bangkok Post, March 12, 2010, p. B5, a progress report on the jurisdictions surveyed by the OECD Global Forum on implementing the internationally agreed tax standard, as of November 2, 2011, AB Tax Transparency 2011, report on progress. France threatens Switzerland on tax evasion. External links, FATF Non-Cooperative Countries and Territories, Annual Non-Cooperative Countries and Territories Initiative Reports, FATF's and CCT's FAQ.